Welcome everyone to Numismatic Estate Planning with Rod Gillis. Rod, you can now turn on your video and unmute yourself, and you can go ahead and start setting up your presentation. There we go. So Rod is the Education Director for the ANA, which I'm guessing most of us have probably heard of. And I know estate planning is definitely something that's a concern for a lot of collectors, to be sure that your collection does get into the right hands when that time comes. So Rod is going to help us out with that. Okay.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rod Gillis, and I'm the Education Director at the American Numismatic Association. And I just want to tell you at the outset that my goal for you during this PowerPoint presentation is for you to be able to realize that we are I am not a financial advisor, nor am I a financial planner. But the whole reason I became involved with this PowerPoint presentation was that I was eating dinner with someone who has been in the numismatic field for a very long time. Perhaps you've heard of him. His name is Bill Fiva. And Bill and I were talking, and he said to me, he said, you know, Rod, he said, there's really nothing out there to help people when either they want to dispose of their collection or whether they've inherited a collection. And he said, this is especially difficult for us because he said, you know, most of us who are in collecting are on the downside of 50 or 60 or more. And he said, you know, we really need to be able to help those people. And as he was talking to me, I realized that it's so true, because very often at the ANA, we get phone calls from people who are in a panic. You know, my father or my grandfather has recently passed away, and they left us this hoard of coins. And no one here knows anything about coins, and we don't know what to do. And can you advise us? And it can be complicated at times, depending on the size of the collection and depending on what is within the collection. So we came up with this idea to be able to try to help people and at least get them to think about what they want to do and how they want to dispose of their collection. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Okay, we can move to the next. So here are some questions that the education staff encounters. Number one, and you can fill in the blank, my grandfather, grandmother, father passed away, and he left the family a coin collection. How can I sell it? I have a client who collected rolls of presidential dollars. Where do I get them graded? And can you give me the names of dealers who want to buy them? And that actually happened. I had a lawyer contact me, and he said, you know, I'm trying to help my client. He has rolls of these presidential dollars. Can you help me? And, you know, when I told him that the presidential dollars are quite common and that it would be foolish for him to get them graded, and that if he did get them graded, the dealers that I could put him in touch with would probably pay, you know, less than the cost of getting the coins graded. As a matter of fact, many of the dealers that I know would want to pay 99 cents for $1 coins because they are talking about the time that it takes to crack them out of whatever holders they appear to be in. My grandfather brought back money while he was in Europe during World War II. Can I turn the notes and coins in for United States money? We get that very often, and we'll talk about that a little later. My grandmother left me a $500 note. Can I spend it? That question comes up very often. And then we often get a call on the other end from banks saying a customer came in with a $500 note. Can we accept it? So here is an example of a piece of money from Germany that was not around during World War II, but it was around during the 1920s. And this is hyperinflationary money that you see. And often we get people who contact us and they say, you know, I have this piece of paper money and we think it's from Germany and it's for this huge amount. Can we exchange it for dollars? Yeah, my grandfather brought back money, and while he was in Europe during World War II, can I turn the notes and coins in for United States money? And when we answer them, and we can go to the next screen, what we tell them is that the hyperinflationary notes are no longer, they're not exchangeable, haven't been for a very long time. And that while they have a wonderful story to tell, and they're usually big and colorful, that they made quite a few of them. And here we see a picture of a gentleman who is using the hyperinflation money as wallpaper. There's a wonderful story about a woman, an older woman who had a wheelbarrow full of this money. And she went to a baker and because she wanted to buy a loaf of bread with all this hyperinflationary money. And she couldn't fit the wheelbarrow into the bakery. So she left it outside and went into the bakery itself. And she got the baker's attention and came out with the bread. And when they both came out back outside, the money was still there, but the wheelbarrow was gone. So I have a philosophical question for you. Do we really own our collection? Do we really own anything? A reporter once asked the accountant of John D. Rockefeller how much money Rockefeller left after he died. And the accountant replied, well, he left all of it. Rockefeller carried a bag of dimes and would give one to each child he met and told them to give cheerfully and they would receive tenfold. It's estimated that he gave away about $35,000 worth of dimes. He also founded the University of Chicago. So we always think of Rockefeller as being a miser who had a lot of money, and certainly he did have a lot of money. But it was very important to him and his faith to be able to give a good portion of it away. So do we really own our collection? As coin collectors, we don't really own our coins, but we're caretakers for a relatively short period of time. Our job is to enjoy them and leave them in the best possible condition for the next generation to repeat the process. So how and when should we dispose of our collection? Well, you have really two options. You can dispose of your collection while you are still alive. You can have your family or someone dispose of your collection after you have passed that great misty veil of life and find yourself in the great coin shop in the sky. I always like to show this to people, and this fits me perfectly. Sorry, your username and password don't match. I think when I pass away, I'm probably going to encounter this. It seems like technology is not my friend, as you've witnessed already. So, disposing of your collection, you basically have three ways to do it. You can sell your coins, you can give your collection to another collector, perhaps a relative, or you can donate your collection. And what's important to understand is it doesn't have to be just one of the three, that it can be a combination, maybe two of the three or maybe all three together. Let me give you an example. So this is a stock certificate, and if you can see it, it says Buick Oil Company. I own this stock certificate. I collect stock certificates along with coins. And this stock certificate is worth quite a bit of money in my world. And the reason is because it is signed by the gentleman who started the Buick Car Company that you're probably familiar with, David Dunbar Buick. And what happened with David Dunbar Buick is he sold his private company to General Motors, and then he left and he started his own oil company in California that he called the Buick Oil Company. This whole thing started when I was interested in seeing if I could find a stock certificate for the Buick Motor Company. And what I didn't know at the time was he always kept it as a private company until he sold it off to GM. And so there were no such things as stock certificates for the Buick Car Company because it wasn't a public entity. So there you see on the left is a picture of David Dunbar Buick as he was older. And on the right, you see a Buick automobile. The Buick automobile is mine. It's a 1951 Buick Roadmaster. And so that was the whole reason that I was looking for a Buick stock certificate. And I always wished that if I could run into David Dunbar Buick and he was still alive, that I could show him that his name was still on cars and that they were still being manufactured. He led a rather difficult life. He started off as a person, an inventor who worked with plumbing. As a matter of fact, he is the person who invented the enamel that we use on our bathroom fixtures, our bathtubs and sinks. He came up with that idea, and then he used that money to start his automobile business. But throughout his whole life, he had a difficult time holding on to money. And at the very end of his life, he was actually working in a trade school part-time and was so poor that he was unable to afford a telephone. So with that stock certificate, I've decided that I'm going to donate that to the American Numismatic Association, and so that they'll be able to hold on to that. Now, I do have some coins, one in particular, that I want to keep in the family and that I want to give to a relative, principally my son. And this is an example of it. Some of you probably recognize this. This is the 2018 World War I Centennial dollar. And the reason I have one and I want to give it to my son is because back in 2010, I came up with the idea for the World War I Centennial coin. And it took 5 years of my life to get the World War I Centennial coin manufactured. I involved talking to senators and congressmen and trying to convince them, and then the President of the United States, hoping that he would pass it. And in 2015, after several tries, we finally were able to get a bill that passed both houses, and President Obama in December of that year was signed it. And so in 2018, we had that coin manufactured. What's interesting is that in November of 2017, the Mint contacted me in Philadelphia, and they said, Rod, we understand that you were sort of involved in this collection, this particular coin, and we'd like to have you come. We're going to have this sort of celebration, and we're going to mint the very first few coins, and we want you to be a part of that. So I thought, wow, this is really exciting. So I went to the Mint, and there were a couple congressmen and senators there, and I had an opportunity to mint coin number 10. And what I decided to do was I was going to hold on to that coin, and I asked the Mint, can I take that coin with me? And they said, well, you can't. And the reason you can't take it with you is because until the coin actually goes on sale, we don't consider it as being legal yet. But we're going to put the coin on sale in January. Again, this was November. They said, and once January comes, we will call you and we will tell you that your coin is available and we can ship it to you. Well, that was great. So in January, the Mint, true to their word, they called me up and they said, Rod, we have your coin, the coin that you minted, and we're ready to send it to you as soon as you send the $54.60 some odd cents, which was a real shock to me. And I said, well, I'll go ahead and do that. And I did receive the coin. Now that coin, at the time, the ANA was having a main exhibit on World War I, and so I donated it to the ANA. But then I bought another one for myself, and that's the one that I'm going to give to my son. I really want him to have that because that's a coin that hopefully he'll be able to remember me by. So, how do you get started in preparing your collection to be sold? Well, the very first thing you need to do is you need to organize your collection, but you need to keep the recipient in mind. Please remember that more than likely, if you are going to give the collection to someone in your family to handle upon your demise, that you need to organize it in a way that they will understand. They probably don't speak numismatics, so you need to keep that in mind. So many people contact us and say, you know, I want to organize my collection, and can you recommend a software that I can use? And the answer is that really, the problem with coin software is that it often goes out of date rather quickly. So we advise people to use just your standard Excel file, and that way it's very adaptable, that you can put in the necessary titles that you need, and you know, you can change things as it goes along. And the nice part about an Excel file is it never goes out of date. As a matter of fact, if you are looking to import an Excel file to help you organize your collection, at the ANA on our website, we have an Excel file with some subjects, some basic subjects, to be able to get you started. Okay. One of the things that you're going to want to include is country of origin. Another is denomination. And if you can, you're going to want to put in the grade as well. All of these things are really important to you because they will help establish a value and help whoever person is handling your collection understand exactly what it is that they have. Here's what it looks like. This is the inventory list that we have made up at the ANA. And again, it's accessible on our website. You don't have to be a member to download this. And so you can find it. Our website is money.org. And if you should have any problems locating it, you can always contact me and I can send you the link if you need to. But I promise you it is there. So let's talk about selling the collection yourself. So imagine that you've decided that you're going to sell the collection before your demise. You don't want your family to have to deal with it. There are advantages and disadvantages to selling your coin collection to a dealer. Let's take a look at the advantages. First of all, it's probably the cleanest and quickest sale. You know, if you and the dealer can agree upon a particular price, then they will pay you for your collection and you're done with it. Usually a very good dealer will also explain the value, how they came upon the price that they are willing to offer you for a particular coin. What are the disadvantages? Well, because dealers need to stay in business, and there's nothing wrong with that, they're going to offer you a wholesale price for the coin, not what they'll be able to sell the coin for. Many people use, for example, the Red Book, which is an excellent book. What they don't know is that the Red Book itself reflects retail prices. So they'll pick up a copy of the Red Book, they'll see a certain amount of money for a particular coin. They'll often think that their coin is the finest example and the best grade that possibly can be. They see a $500 value listed in there, and they go to the dealer fully expecting that they're going to get $500 for that coin. And they feel shocked when the dealer is going to come not close to that retail value. So a wholesale price can be a disadvantage. There is no set price for a coin. You know, people call me all the time and they say, how much is this particular coin worth? And I know it sounds cheeky, and I don't mean to sound flip, but I tell them in the final analysis, your coin is worth whatever someone is willing to pay for it. And what I mean by that is, let's imagine that you have two dealers, dealer A and dealer B. And let's suppose that you have an Indian head cent. It's an 1877 Indian head cent, which is the key to the series. And you go into dealer A's shop, and dealer A has 4 examples of an 1877 cent. Now, he's willing to buy yours, but he already has 4, and so far he has not been able to sell any of them. And let's suppose that you now go to dealer B. Dealer B has no examples of the Indian head 1877 cent. Not only that, but one of his regular customers is looking for such a coin in the grade that you happen to have available. Which dealer do you think is going to more likely pay more for it? Is it going to be dealer A or dealer B? Well, obviously it's going to be dealer B. So that's what I mean by there are no set prices. You really have to do your homework. Another thing is that we talk about cherry picking. There are some dealers who will want a certain part of your collection because they need it, but not perhaps the more common coins, and they're not willing to buy them. And so what do you do in that situation? You know, he's willing to buy maybe a third of your collection, but 2/3, because it's not worth very much or is very modest, he's not willing to, he or she's not willing to buy. So what do you do in that situation? So those are some of the disadvantages. Okay. I think that was. If you're looking for a dealer and you are looking for several dealers, one of the things that you can do is you can go to our homepage, and at the top you'll see there's a place called Find a Dealer. Thank you. And if you'll click, when you click on Find a Dealer, what will happen is that you'll then go to the dealer directory, and it's just a matter of putting in your information. Here it is. You'll be able to put in your information and then hit search, and dealers who are in that local area will be able to help you. And the nice part about this is that all the dealers that are listed in our dealer directory are members in good standing of the association, and that means that they abide by a code of ANA ethics. Okay. Suppose that you are not interested in selling to a dealer, that you want to sell your coins privately. What are the advantages to that? Well, often you can get a better price if you're selling to other collectors because they may not have a strict wholesale price like a dealer does. What are the disadvantages? Well, there's more work involved in finding a buyer. There are security issues. The last thing that you want to do is announce to the world that you have coins that you are willing to sell and they're at your house. And really it requires an advanced knowledge of the collection. So many people call me and say, you know, we just inherited these coins, or I have these coins and I'm thinking about putting them up on eBay. And I tell them that they can do that if they so choose, but if they don't know a lot about coins, or even a lot about the particular coins that they want to put up on the eBay, that it might not be the best plan of action. And I tell them that because people may have questions about that particular coin. And if you don't know the answers, you'll look foolish and you'll probably lose the sale. Not only that, but when you take a photograph of the coin, if the coin has a problem and your photograph doesn't show that problem on the coin, when the buyer gets it, they're probably going to want to return it. And that makes it difficult for you as well. And I'm not suggesting that you're hiding the problem when you take the photograph. You can legitimately take a photograph of a coin and without it showing any problems or any cleanings that it may have encountered. And then that puts you on the hook. Okay. Suppose that you have decided that you would like to sell your collection to an auction company. Well, generally you're going to receive the very best prices for your coins because you have a targeted audience who is interested in the coins that you want to sell. Everyone there is a coin collector or a dealer, and so they're going to look over your coins and probably will be an interested party. The disadvantages are, number one, that there's a time element. You know, you're going to send your coins to the auction company. They're probably not going to have an auction the very next day, and even if they did, you wouldn't want to be in that auction because they aren't advertising your coins. So you're going to have to wait for them to be able to advertise your coins in an upcoming auction. The auction company will probably be only interested in your very rare and valuable coins. You know, they're not going to be interested in your 1950s wheat cents, you know, common wheat cents. They're just not going to be interested in putting in the time to advertise those coins because they're probably going to lose money in so doing that. Unless, of course, there's some provenance behind the coins. If they belong to someone really big and you can prove that, there may be a difference in that. But other than that, just generally, they're really only going to be interested in coins that are of high value. And number three is that once the coin has sold, there will be a certain amount of time where they will wait before you get your payment because there's the red tape of processing the payments and making sure that everything squares. So while the auction companies do have great advantages, really there are only advantages if you don't need the money right away and if your coins are of particular interest or value. Tax implications of selling your collection. Great question. Do I have to pay income tax on coins that I sell from my collection? Well, yes, you do. It's a capital gains issue. How do I determine the profit that I made? I don't have a record of my purchase price. The best solution is to figure out the approximate time you purchased the coins. Find the values of the coins at that time and deduct that number from the selling price. That is your profit. Old guidebooks of the United States coins are great for helping you do this. And yes, the Internal Revenue Service does recognize the Red Book or Guidebook of the United States coins as a legitimate research source. Can I deduct a loss of value when I sell my coins? Well, it depends. If you're an investor and this is how you make your living, the answer is yes. But if you're a collector who bought coins for your enjoyment and you're selling at a loss, then the answer is no. Suppose that you've had a nice collection and you collected prudently, and that when you sell your collection, you have some money. What do you do with it? Well, one example that I've become familiar with is something called a CRT, which is a charitable remainder trust. You'll see on the right-hand side that there's a diagram of what it is. So what a charitable remainder trust means is that you actually park your money into a trust that periodically gives money to a particular charity. Okay. Now, by doing so, you're able to write that off, but also in the remainder trust, you're able to make a certain amount of money on that, or a profit on that money that is parked in the charitable remainder trust. You also would, if you have children, be interested in buying a life insurance trust for your children, and you'll make money off of your life insurance trust. But upon your demise, that money will go to your children without tax implications on their part. So a CRT, charitable remainder trust, is something that you may want to consider. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor, but I suggest that you do talk to one, perhaps talk about a CRT or any other vehicles that may help you not only keep your capital, but be able to disseminate it upon your demise. Most importantly, if you are planning to have someone in your family handle your collection, make sure that you leave a will. And what needs to be contained in your will? Well, number one is you need to tell the person where your collection is housed. If it's in a particular bank, in a safety deposit box, you need to tell them that. They won't be able to figure that out on their own. You also need to tell them where your inventory, that Excel file we talked about earlier, where that inventory is found so that they have something to go by. And of course, you'll need instructions as to who and how the collection should be sold and where the proceeds go. And for heaven's sake, make sure that you keep this last will with this information up to date. If you switch banks and move your collection from one safety deposit box to another safety deposit box, you don't list that as an update in your will, that's not going to be much help. If your family plans an obituary, make sure that they do not mention coin collecting specifically as a hobby for obvious reasons. People do this though. I've seen it several times where people say, Bill really enjoyed collecting coins. Well, there are people out there who read obituaries just for this reason, and they'll be coming to visit your family in a town very close to you. Here's a great question that so many people contact me with, and which is, how do I establish taxes for the value of coins I inherited? So let's say that you inherited from your grandfather. This is really important, so please listen carefully. When you inherit coins, your basis, what your taxable gains are based on when you sell the coins. It's set at the fair market value of the coins when the decedent died. Let me say that again. It's set at the fair market value of the coins when the decedent died. For example, your grandfather started collecting coins when he was young and paid only $300 for his collection. Let's say he was a child and he collected in the late 1930s and he paid $300 for his collection. The coins are now worth $5,000. Your basis at the time that he died, your basis is set at $5,000. Therefore, if you turn around and sell them for $5,000, you won't pay any taxes, because even though the coins are worth $4,700 more than what your grandfather paid for them, the step-up basis leaves you with no taxable gains, because your basis equals the sale price. What that means in English is that what you need to know is not how much the coins were valued at the time that your grandfather was buying them or collecting them. The only information you need to know is what was the value of the collection on the date that he passed away. And that's the number that is going to establish if you're going to pay taxes or not. And again, if when he passed away, his collection was worth $5,000, that's what you sell the collection for, $5,000, the government sees no profit at that point, and so they will not levy taxes on you. I hope that's clear, and that's really important. So many people ask me this question. Okay. So what about the federal estate tax schedule? Well, the federal government only imposes an estate tax, not an inheritance tax. So single people, roughly, the federal government's estate tax is $11.4 million. And if you're married, it's $22.8 million. You'll see that I have a Franklin $50 for you to see. Why do I have that there? And that's because if you're a ham and egger like I am, and you're collecting Franklin $50, you're probably not going to have to worry about the estate tax of $11.4 million. It's just not happening. So for most of us, this is something that we really don't need to be concerned about. What if the family has inherited a collection? Is there anyone within the family who is interested in the collection? If no, then they're going to sell it. If yes, then they'll be able to hold on to it. If the family inherits the collection, are there inheritance taxes? And the answer is it depends. I have a map for you to take a look at. It says, does your state have an estate or inheritance tax? And what you'll see that the vast majority of states in the country do not have estate or inheritance taxes. There are some states that have an estate tax. There are some states that have an inheritance tax. And then you'll see that a couple of there are some real beauties that have both estate and inheritance tax. Now, unfortunately, this one is a little out of date because New Jersey at one time did have an estate and inheritance tax, but now they do not have the estate tax, I believe. Okay. Anyway, the most amazing thing about this is I'm surprised because when I look over at California does not have an estate and inheritance tax, and I'm just shocked about that. California being in the news so very often, looking for ways to raise revenue. And this must be an oversight. So if you live in California, mum's the word. Donating all or part of your collection. Donating to a charitable organization can allow for a tax deduction based on the value of your donation. The organization is responsible for providing you with a receipt for your donation, but they cannot appraise the value. An appraisal is the responsibility of the donator. And please, when I say that they cannot, it's not that they will not, it's that they cannot. For example, the American Numismatic Association receives quite a few donations. As a matter of fact, that's how most of our coins in the museum came to us. We cannot value the collection because we are a 501(c) nonprofit organization. So by law, we cannot provide an appraisal. So what happens is when we get a donation, we create a receipt that we give to the donator, and our chief executive, Kim Keck, writes a really nice letter for the donator's generosity, and that's what they receive. And then they can use that specific receipt if they want to write it off for their taxes. The amount that they write it off is between the donator, the IRS. The American Numismatic in that situation has nothing to do with it. Important to know. So, federal standard tax deductions versus itemized deductions. Donating to a charitable organization can allow for a tax deduction based on the value of your donation. The organization is responsible for providing you with a receipt for your donation, but they cannot appraise the value. An appraisal is the responsibility of the donator. So here's the IRS standard deductions, and I would assume that they're going to be the same this upcoming tax year. So if you are single, you have a $12,200 standard deduction. What does that mean to you? That means that if you donated to, let's say, the ANA, for example, and your donation you decided was worth $400. Well, if that's the only deduction that you have, then it would be better for you to take the standardized $12,200 than to itemize and use that $400 as a deduction. Okay. Right. So since I've mentioned the American Numismatic Association several times, let's talk about if you decided that you wanted to donate coins, if the American Numismatic Association would be a suitable place for you to do that. If you have world coins, world paper money, United States coins, regardless of value, or United States paper money, we would be interested in any of those. What could we use them for? Well, the ANA Museum sometimes does not have a particular item that may come our way. And if they don't, then we transfer it over to the ANA Museum so that when they're bringing up a suitable exhibit, a suitable display, they may be able to use your coin. And wouldn't that be exciting to have your coin in an actual display within a museum? We can't guarantee that. And to be perfectly honest, there are only very rarely does that happen, but it does happen. Coins for A's. We have a program called Coins for A's where any youngster who is in school up to age through 17 who earns 3 or more A's in a marking period can send a copy of their report card to us. We will send to them a really neat world coin, and we'll challenge them to learn as much about the history and the geography of the country that minted their coin as possible. Not only that, but we will offer them a 1-year free membership to the American Numismatic Association when we send them their coin. There's also a program for youngsters between the ages of 12 and under called the Dollar Program, where we use presidential dollars, Eisenhower dollars, to be able to give the kids after they have completed certain projects. For our older kids, 13 and above, we have something called the Ancient Coin Project, the Early American Copper Coin Project, where again, it's a matter of them completing projects that are a little bit more rigorous than the Dollar Program, and they can receive ancient coins and or early copper coins. And then there's the Scout Merit Badge that we offer, where Scouts can earn their Collecting Merit Badge, and they can also earn a membership and world and United States coins that we give to them during their workshop. And then we have youngsters who perform certain tasks during the year, and they're rewarded with play money, sort of like Monopoly money, called Young Numismatist currency. And every month we have an auction where we auction several items that the youngsters can use their currency that they've earned to bid and win particular coins. And then in September of every year, we have a great big year-long or yearly numismatic auction where kids can get some really neat coins that have been donated to us using their YN dollars. So this is the flyer for Coins for A's. It's a tremendous program. It's nationwide. I think we have representatives of kids from every state. and they get really neat world coins. I'm an old history teacher before I started working at the ANA, and I've learned that kids have a terrible notion of history, and geography is even worse. So what we do is we try to get these kids to learn more about history and geography of the countries that minted their coins. I have an Excel file, and what I do is when a youngster becomes part of Coin for A's, when he earns a coin, I put down in the Excel file the coin that he or she is getting, and that way they'll never get the same coin twice. And by the way, I want to mention that about a quarter of the kids who are involved in Coins for A's are homeschoolers. We have a very strong homeschool representation. We believe that homeschoolers are often overlooked, and they are a really important part of our program. This is the Dollar Project. They're required to, the first activity is there to do a coin rubbing. The second activity involves where they they pick a year that a dollar was minted, and then they give us 5 examples of things that happened in the United States the year that dollar was minted, and 5 examples of things that happened in the world. They also designed a commemorative dollar on their own. And their final activity is on our website, where it's a choose your own adventure activity, where they learn how coins are actually minted at the mint. The one thing that you'll notice about all these activities that we're talking about is that the ANA really doesn't give coins away. We don't think that it is a good value to give coins to children. We do give them every opportunity that we can for them to earn coins. And what we find is that they really prize the coins much more if they have to do something to be able to earn the coin that they receive. The Wine auction. So our yearly wine auction is coming up. Actually, this wine auction is going to be September 12th, not the 14th. I apologize, this must have been from last year, but our auction is September 12th. And youngsters, it'll be live. Kids will be on YouTube, and kids who have registered are members of the ANA and have earned Wine dollars will be able to bid on some really neat coins. There are 100 lots that the kids can bid on, and they have a tremendous amount of fun. It's a long day. We start at 10 o'clock and we finish at 4, and the kids really do enjoy themselves. So this year is in September 12th. Last thing I wanted to mention before we take any questions is that if you're interested in what I had to say to you, that there is a book that the ANA has put together called Managing and Settling a Numismatic Estate. And you can find that book actually on Amazon. It's not expensive by any means. It's a paperback. What it does is it was actually written by several people, one being a lawyer, so that you'll get into the fineries of your estate planning much more so than I can give to you, not only because of my level of expertise, but in the short time that we spent together. So it's I believe it's $6.95. You can purchase it on Amazon, and that's something that you really may want to consider if this is something that you believe it's time for you to think about. Okay. So that's the PowerPoint presentation that I have for you, and I'm willing to take any questions that you may have.
Okay, we do have a few questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to read some of those off. Okay, we have, once a coin is donated to a 501c3, can that entity claim it on its tax return?
So you mean the person who donated the coin, or the actual person who donated it?
I believe they mean the 501c3. Can that entity claim it?
Oh, so can we claim it as for our taxes? You know, I don't know the answer to that. However, I would probably say that in that instance, no. And the reason I would say that, and certainly in my experience, if it comes to the education department, is that it most likely will go out in a very short period of time. We don't have coins in a warehouse that stay there for years. I tell people that I can find good homes for pretty much any numismatic item that they are willing to donate. And I'm serious about that. And the kids are so very grateful to get coins because, you know, they don't have the time sense that we do. So in other words, if they get a, let's say that they get a cent from 1910, you know, it's so exciting to them because to them that's an ancient coin because it's so very long ago. So like I said, anything that you want to send to the education department at the ANA, we will find a good home for it.
Okay. So what does the ANA do with valuable coins someone donated to them that they no longer need? For example, if someone else donated the same coin in better condition, does the ANA ever sell any of their valuable coins aside from the YN programs?
Yeah, well, we have sold coins in the past. And in the YN program, we never sell coins, really, but in the auction we do.
Right.
But they're using play money. But most of the time, with the collection that goes to our museum, not only do we try to have one example, but we try to have two. And the reason behind that is, if the coin should go up on display, we want to be able to show the example of the obverse and the reverse of the coin. So in most instances, when we get a second coin, rather than put it up for sale, what we do is we hold on to it because when it's displayed, we want to be able to show both sides.
Interesting. Okay. How do we get the $3 coupon? On the last slide at the top, it says get $3 off.
Yeah, I believe that that involves you have to be a member of the American Numismatic Association. That coupon, I know that we offer it at all of our shows, so it may be a matter where you have to attend like one of our World's Fair of Monies or our national money shows to be able to receive that. I think that's the case. But again, you know, the book itself is not a very expensive book, so and it's well worth the time and effort that was put into it for your advantage.
Okay. We were told by a financial planner that for purposes of evaluating assets for Medicaid, U.S. coins and currency are worth face value if they have not been insured for their collectible value, and that he can sell them within the family to divest of them. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't. But I'm glad that you bring up that because there's one thing that I didn't address, and it involves face value. So it is a very good question. Back to the premise concerning a bank. You know, we have people who call us and say, I have a $500 note and I want to know if I can still, or I have a $500 note and I want to know if I can spend it. The answer is yes. The United States is the only country that I'm aware of that honors every bit of money that is ever minted or printed. So the answer is yes, but of course, as you know, being a collector, it would be foolish for you to do that because the money is worth far more to a collector than it is its face value. I mean, you could spend a 2-cent or a 3-cent piece if you wanted to, and you could find a store to take that. Conversely, a bank, tellers all the time call us. This person's come in with a $500 note. I've never seen this before. Can we take it? And the answer is yes, you can, but please be a nice person and tell them that you suggest that they take it to a dealer, and with the money they get for that $500 note, which will be far more than the $500 denomination itself, you can take that money, bring it back in the bank, and put it in your checking account, and won't you be a hero? So while I'm sorry I didn't answer your question directly, your question is a very good one, and it did bring up that issue that I failed to mention.
Okay. Do you have any good advice to give someone familiar with coins who wants to help someone else who inherited coins to liquidate their collection, besides giving them the book?
I think I would always start by, I think the most important thing is to try to get them to organize your collection. And when I tell people that, I say, you know, I think it's easiest if you organize your collection by denomination. And then once you've organized it by denomination, the next thing you want to do is you want to organize it by date. And then with that, if you can go further, you want to organize it by grade. So those are the three things, but you know, organize the collection, and also making sure that if you're helping someone and you run across any coins that are of value, that you make sure that you store them in a suitable holder. You know, a coffee can is not a real good place to put a valuable coin. So make sure that you talk with them about that. And I think the other thing is, you know, try to get people out of the mindset that because a coin is old, that doesn't necessarily mean it's valuable. You know, there are three variables that determine the value of a coin. They are demand, grade, and mintage number. I notice I did not say the year the coin was minted. You have ancient bronze coins that were minted in the 400s that are, you know, they made boatloads of them, and they can be had for $10 or $15. And then you could have a coin that is fairly a recent mintage, but maybe they only minted a few, and those coins are going to be much more valuable. So my advice would be to make sure that when you talk to people, try to get them out of the mindset that age determines value, because it doesn't.
Let's see. If I have Cash in Your Coins by Deischer, is this other book going to be an improvement on that or give new information?
That is a really good question. And Beth Deischer was one of the contributors to this book, and she contributed after the book that she wrote. So I would say to you, yes, not only because the book was written after Beth wrote wrote the previous title that you mentioned, but also because there were other contributors to it. So, and again, my purpose here is not to try to sell you the book. The book is out there. It's a help. If you feel that it would be beneficial to you, great. If you don't, that's okay too. But I would say in this instance that she did contribute after if she wrote the previous title. So my answer would be yes.
How long have these YN programs been running, like Coins for A's?
Well, like everything under the sun, Coins for A's, we stole it. We stole that idea from the Houston Coin Club. Of course, I asked them if we could, and we turned it into a national. Program or project, and it's been here. Coins for A's has been around through the ANA almost as long as I have been working for the ANA, and I've been here for coming on 15 years. I would say that Coins for A's has probably been around for 12 or 13 years. It's been around a long time.
Yeah. Let's see, we have someone in the Q&A who was from the coin club that you stole it from. They're very excited to hear their club mentioned.
Yeah, and that's absolutely true. And, you know, I give them great credit for allowing us to use that title. You know, I talked to them and I said, listen, you guys have something that's really great. The Houston Coin Club actually does it for people, students who live in the Houston area. And I just asked them, hey, look, can I take your idea and move that on to something on a national basis? And they graciously allowed us to do that.
Okay, does the ANA have any criteria on accepting coins as donations? For example, are there any coins, tokens, or metals that the ANA would not accept?
You know, I hate to say no, because I'm sure that if somebody worked hard enough, they could find something that we couldn't accept for some reason. So I hate to say that, but like I said earlier, for the vast majority of coins that people send to us, or metals, or stock certificates, or paper money, the vast majority of that stuff, I can generally find a good home for it. And by a good home, I mean going to a youngster who will appreciate that. Mm-hmm. But if you want to find something to prove me wrong, I'm sure you can do that.
Okay, looks like we have one more question left in the Q&A still. What do you think of the book on this topic by the Kramer brothers?
I'm not familiar with that book. I'm sorry. Can you give me a title? Or?
They didn't give a title.
Yeah,
if the person who asked the question would like to send the title, then we might have more information.
Sure. And while we're here, just to finish up, if anybody needs to contact me, my email address is Gillis, Gillis, @money.org, money.org. And if you think of a question that you, after we've had this time together, that you would like to ask, but that is not coming to you right now, I'll do my very best to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can.
Okay, well, I don't see the title of that one coming through, so I believe that wraps us up. Do you have any other final closing remarks?
Leanna, I just want to say I think this is a great job that you and the Newman Portal are doing, and I just want to congratulate you on doing such a fine job. And I want to personally thank you for helping me get through this.
Of course, thank you for participating and bearing with us through all the technical difficulties, and just being cooperative. Someone in the Q&A would like you to state your email again before we leave.
Sure. It's Gillis, that's my last name, Gillis, at money, MONEY, .org. All of the email addresses at the ANA are the person's usually last name at money.org.
Okay, and I have responded to that person's question as well in text. If you go back to the Q&A, you should be able to see that answer there as well, if that is helpful. So, okay, thank you all for watching and listening and presenting, Rod. I think we've had a very good first day of the symposium. I hope to see you all back again tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Leanna.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.